Welcome to the Flora Sage Podcast, a place where we help you create a life you're excited about. Welcome back to the podcast. This week, we are going to talk about your dream life. I promise you, your dream life is a lot closer than you think. I talked about this, aka the dream life concept, in my book, The 1 Degree Shift. It's actually on page 101 or chapter 11. So if you have my book, haven't read it yet, fast forward to that chapter and read it after you listen to today's podcast, because I think that this concept of figuring out what your dream life actually is, you're going to start to realize how close you are. So think about the life that you have right now. Think about the life that you're craving to have. The life that you're craving to have, or your dream life, could be more travel, less working. Maybe you want to live off the grid. Maybe you want to live by the beach or in a high-rise penthouse or in an RV. Maybe you want to downsize. Maybe you want to upsize. Maybe you dream of owning your own company. Maybe you dream of being healthier or stronger or more flexible, or whatever it is. Whatever it is that your soul is craving at that deep level is something that calls to you, and that those calls echo in your heart and in your mind. They echo, and that is why you feel this little bit of discontent with the life that you have, and you keep looking around thinking, when is it going to be my turn to have that thing that I've always wanted to have? And what I'm getting is that you already know what you want. You already know what you want. There's just something in the way, and that's what we're going to look at today. And typically what's getting in the way is how you perceive what it is that you want and how you're defining it. So, if you could put yourself on a map, the starting point would be where you're at right now. Visualize a map in your head or in front of you. Put a big X on the town or the block or the home that you live in right now. That is where we're starting. The end point will be your dream life. How far away would you say you are from that vision? And have you envisioned the dream life that you truly, truly want? Some people don't even have a vision of what they want. They've just done what they think that they need to do at the stage of life that they're in. And I've heard this story so many times, like literally more times than I can count. People finish school, they start college, they find a partner, they buy a house, they have a couple of kids, they work a job, maybe they go on vacation once a year. They raise kids if they choose to have kids. They become an empty nester. They downsize, they retire, they travel, and then they die. Some people's visions for their life, however, are very different. They're wildly different from that. What does yours look like? Years ago, I thought that my big grand vision was this big house on this huge plot of land with some boats by a lake with all these cars and these like ATVs and all the things. And I realized every time I thought about it, it felt heavy. It felt restrictive. It didn't feel good. And I was like, what the hell? Why does this thing that I say that I want, why doesn't it feel good? And I thought, because I didn't dig deeper into it, I thought the reason why that I was feeling tight and restrictive and heavy and apprehensive, I just thought it was because I wasn't there yet, and that I had to learn quote unquote patience. And I just chalked it up to that. But then when I realized that this unsavory feeling that I was feeling wasn't just because I was thinking, oh, well, I'm just not there yet and I'm impatient, or all the other laundry list of things that I had in my head. When I stopped and said, wait a minute, this just doesn't feel good. I realized that was why I wasn't getting where I wanted to go, because I was headed to a place I didn't want to be. And so when I thought about this vision, when I thought about this dream life, quote unquote dream life, the big house, the cars, the boat, all that stuff, I felt drained energetically. And again, my ego mind thought it's just because I'm not there yet. That's why I have these heavy feelings. But like I said, one day I was like, no, that's not right. Let me lean into this a little bit more. So subconsciously, because I knew I didn't want to get there, I kept self-sabotaging myself and my efforts. And once I realized this, I asked myself the big question, what do I want? What do I want? If I actually don't want that, what do I want? What would feel good? What would feel exciting? What would feel uplifting? What would feel empowering? Forget what everybody else thinks I need or says that I should want and all that other bullshit. What do I want? When I leaned into this, what I realized is I wanted a small house with no yard that was spacious, lots of windows, and room in my life to travel. Having a big house felt really, really heavy. Having a small home or apartment felt better and more freeing. And I asked myself, I'm like, well, where the hell did I learn or take on the idea that I needed or wanted that big giant house and that big lifestyle that went with it? And as I sat with it, I realized it was from social media. It was from books and TVs and magazines and the ideals of the people that I surrounded myself with. And I actually talked about this in a previous podcast where I talked about how a lot of my friends are very wealthy and they have lots of opulence. They have the big houses, the big cars, all the things. And for me, I would rather have the money in the bank so I can travel and do whatever and not have all the stuff to come back to. I'd literally rather have a crash pad to come back to, meaning something small, yet still spacious. And I mean, I'm kind of a minimalist anyway, so I can live out of a backpack, no problem. And that comparisonitis that I got into was, seeing all this opulence, but wanting absolutely the opposite of that. It was very interesting. And I've got a whole podcast about that. You can go ahead and listen to it to your heart's content. But I allowed myself to recognize where those thoughts came from, where that feeling came from of why I assumed I should want that too. Now listen, it's okay to want different things than people around you, okay? The faster you get clear about what lights you up and what excites you and what you truly desire and ultimately what you want in your life and what you want your life to look like, the easier it's going to be for you to really start making that part of your reality. I'll give you an example, and I've talked about this on live streams, and I've talked about this in my Instagram stories and whatnot. My partner and I wanted a smaller place, and we got very crystal clear about what we wanted. And within a few weeks of us even talking about it, we found a place, we signed a lease, and we're now living in a new 1-bedroom, 1-bath in a resort-style community. And oh my gosh, you guys, it is amazing. So basically, I say all that to say this. Once you get clear on what you truly want or desire, and you write it out, I would highly recommend writing it out someplace, either in person or online. But the second you get clear about what you want, you start to recognize, one, how close you actually are, and two, those simple steps needed to make this dream a reality. Now, there was a couple of times when I've done this in my life where major change needed to happen. And when I say major change, that meant literally moving across the globe. It meant getting rid of all of my possessions. It meant moving from one state to the next. And those were big moves. Those were big girl moves. And at the time, many times, I didn't feel like I could do it. But that was the shortest possible distance between where I was to where I wanted to be. And once I did that, once I made that move, boom, everything fell into place. One time, I asked for a divorce, and it shifted my life completely. One time, I went to marriage therapy. That shifted my life completely. So, just because these moves are small doesn't mean they're insignificant. It doesn't mean they're not hard. And sometimes these moves might be big. And just because they're big doesn't mean they're hard. Some of the biggest, boldest moves I've made have been the easiest. Oh my gosh, you guys have been the easiest. And sometimes the tiniest moves that I've made have been the hardest. And there's a spectrum. There is a spectrum, and it's all how we choose to perceive it. But time is going to pass anyway. So ask yourself, do I want to stay in a life where I am comfortably uncomfortable? Or do I want to make some moves, make those 1-degree shifts, and create a life that I'm wildly obsessed with? And that I literally will stop myself in my kitchen and say, why the fuck am I so happy? And people will stop you and say, dude, like, what are you doing? How are you so happy? What are you doing? And the key is that you are filling your life up with things that matter. With things that matter. I'm not saying what you have right now doesn't matter. I'm not saying that. But there is a time when we get stuck in a rut and we go down a path we thought we wanted, and we realize, you know what? Maybe I don't really want this path anymore. It worked for me for a time, but right now, not so much. I'm gonna share a quick story with you, and then we'll wrap up this podcast episode. So there was this couple, and for all intents and purposes, I will say that it is a man and a woman. Every year, the man makes a ham for a holiday dinner. And he meticulously does all the things, the spices and the herbs and all the things. And then, right before he puts it in the oven, he very meticulously cuts one end of the ham off and then the other end. And then puts it in the oven. Fabulous. And then his partner said, hey babe, why do you cut the ends of your ham off? And he's like, I don't know, that's the way that my mom used to do it. And his partner was like, let's call your mom because I am so intrigued as to why that makes such a big difference. But your ham is freaking, it's phenomenal. It's like so good. So he's like, all right, cool. Calls his mom, hey mom, why do you cut the ends of your ham off? And she's like, I'm not quite sure. Your granddad used to always do that, and his ham was fabulous, and my ham is fabulous, and your ham is fabulous, so there you go. So he's like, all right, cool, thanks. So he calls the granddad, hey granddad, why do you cut the ends of your ham off? And the granddad goes, oh, so it'll fit in the pan. Why? And the grandson is like floored. He's like, seriously? He's like, yeah, our pan was too small. We didn't really, want to buy a new pan considering we only make ham twice a year. So we just cut the ends of the ham off so it'll fit in the pan. So you have 2 generations of people not knowing why they cut the ends of the ham off, but they do it anyway. So now is your opportunity to question, why the hell are you cutting the ham? Why? Why are you cutting the ham? Look at your life. Why are you doing what you're doing? Why do you have the life that you have? Is it because that's what everybody else around you did? Or is that because you need to do it out of necessity? Is it because you desire it, because you want to do it, because it lights you up, it fills you up? Or because that's just what everybody else is doing? That's the social norm. I used to think I was the black sheep of the family because I always did things my way. I always did things the way that nobody else around me did it. Until one day we were all sitting around my dad's deathbed, literally, and my stepsister mentioned, we were actually going around and sharing with each other things we admire about each other. And my stepsister mentioned how much she admired my ability to reinvent myself at various points in my life. And I was like shook. I was shook. I was like, holy shit. Wow. I didn't even think of it like that. I just thought, I'm not happy. Let me change some shit so that I am happy. And in the outside perspective, it was just me reinventing myself, saying, fuck it, I'm going to try this and see if it works. I don't know. We'll try. Sometimes it did and sometimes it didn't. You know, and I always tell my kids, have as many jobs as you want. Don't think that this is the job that you have to have, or this is the house you have to live in, or this is the state you need to be in, or whatever. Keep exploring. Get curious. Be adventurous. Why not? But for some reason, as adults, we lose that vigor. We lose that curiosity. Like I said, you're so much closer to your dream life than you believe, that you realize. Allow yourself today and over the next couple of weeks to get curious and say, what lights me up? What lights me up? What excites me? What reminds me how freaking fabulous life can be? And what dulls me to boredom? What makes me feel resentful and why? And really look at and question all the things that you do in your life. Why am I doing this? Who taught me how to do this? Did I learn by observation, through direct teaching, or through being self-taught? And does it still resonate with me? Why am I doing what I'm doing? And what do I want to do? What do I want to experience? And give yourself brutal permission and just like take the gloves off and just say, I'm done. I am done doing the shit that just doesn't make me happy anymore. Now, yes, I could have a whole podcast episode about the whole selfishness thing about, well, this is an inconvenience, so I'm not going to do it, or this is actually my obligation. We could talk about perceived obligations and all that other stuff later, but right now, those core things. Why do you do what you do? Why are you living where you're living? Why do you have the type of lifestyle and life that you do? Was it just by default, or was it a conscious decision? And I'm talking everything from down to like the car that you drive, to your sexual preferences, to your partner, to the type of coffee you drink, like literally all of that. All of that comes down to, are you happy? Are you not happy? And what, in your dream life, what type of coffee are you drinking? Are you drinking Kona coffee from Hawaii? Actually, I don't know if there's any Kona coffee that's not from Hawaii, but let's just say Kona coffee from Oahu that is a pour over in a mug that your partner gave you, overlooking the ocean, getting your feet rubbed by a masseuse that comes once a week. I don't know. That could be your dream morning. How far away are you from that? Maybe you already have the ocean view. Maybe you already have the Kona coffee in the cabinet that you've been saving for a special occasion. Call and see if there's a traveling masseuse. Who knows? If you don't have a pour over and you want one, go to Amazon. You can get it today or tomorrow. You're so much closer to your dream life than you believe, seriously. And yes, that is one tiny little image. That is one tiny little thing. I used to dream of going to the chiropractor every week. But when I was a single mom, that was very expensive, like very expensive. Now I have a membership to a chiropractic clinic and I go every week. That's part of my reality. And it's like that was part of my dream list, my dream life list years ago. Now it's part of my reality. In order to get your dream life, you have to be clear and specific, and you have to not be afraid to ask for what the hell you want. Okay, I love you, and I hope that I'm getting through to you because I speak to so many people every single week, and I don't want you to be unhappy. I don't want you to be miserable. I don't want you to miss out on how freaking amazing life can be and life is with just the tiniest of tweaks. Just the tiniest of tweaks. That's what I'm here for. Those little 1-degree shifts. And like I said, just because it's a tiny shift doesn't mean it's not hard. And just because it's a big shift doesn't mean that's hard. It could be hard, it could be easy. It's all how you choose to perceive it. But it all comes down to what do you want and how badly do you want it to happen. And then once you get that clarity, you just have to get the courage to do it, to take that action. And once you courageously take that little 1-degree shift, you're going to start to gain more confidence than you have ever known. And then people are going to come up to you and be like, dude, like, what are you doing? Why are you so happy? And how can I get a part of it? How can I get a piece of that, you know? All right. I love you. I hope this serves you today. Please remember, all it takes is one tiny little shift every single day to create a life that you are wildly obsessed with and a life that you absolutely love. If you'd like my help with this, please jump into the show notes, book your 1-degree shift assessment. This is a full session with myself, almost 2 hours together. We dig deep. We unpack and uncover all of it. We get very clear, and you are going to walk away with a roadmap on exactly how to get and create your dream life. This is not for the faint of heart. Like I said, this is almost 2 hours together that we spend. This is a full coaching session with myself. I offered abbreviated versions of this in the past, but if you truly want change, if you truly want your dream life, click the link in the show notes. Let's talk. Book your 1-degree shift assessment. And I am so freaking excited for you because I know how much these assessments and how much these sessions have changed the lives of hundreds of my listeners. And I want you to be that next person. All right. I love you. I hope this serves you today. And I will see you in the next episode. Bye. If you're enjoying this content, which I hope you are, and you're applying this knowledge in your life and are seeing results, I would love to hear about your successes. Click the link in today's show notes, share your success story with me so you can help to inspire others. Also, if you've been loving these episodes, it would mean the world to me if you would rate this podcast on iTunes. A 5-star rating is what I always aim for. Thank you for listening to today's podcast episode. All links mentioned are in today's show notes.